All right, everyone, we finally got a new poll from South Carolina. It's been a little while since we had one of those, and it shows pretty much the race unchanged in South Carolina, where Trump leads now by more than 30 points. It looks like he's poised to humiliate Nikki Haley in her own home state. I suspect that if she doesn't do particularly well in New Hampshire, so if she doesn't at least nearly win, she will then drop out to avoid being humiliated in South Carolina, again, her home state. That would be the smart thing to do. Sort of like with DeSantis. If he doesn't manage to place well, and he's a distant third in South Carolina and in New Hampshire, he's far behind in Iowa. At this point, Trump has extended his lead. He's running above 50 in numerous polls now. He would be wise to drop out before Super Tuesday. He can stay in until then, but his home state is Florida. That's a Super Tuesday state. That would be a bad idea. About the only other person that I can see reasonably staying in until the bitter end would be like Chris Christie. And that's just because he's got Trump derangement syndrome so badly, he'll probably gobble up a lot of the votes that would have gone to either DeSantis or Haley once one of them drops out. Trump will get a share. The other one that's still in will get a share, but I think that some of it goes to Chris Christie, and he's well aware of this fact and says, hey, if I can run on 10 in any of these states, at least I was in the double digits. You know, he's probably going to take third in New Hampshire, it looks like, so that'd be really, really funny. Fucking Chris Christie. New Hampshire voters certainly aren't a strange breed, by the way. It's a little bit of a loopy state. I mean, I was born there. G.G. Allen was born there. Well, New Hampshireans do it a little bit differently. It's sort of like the more bombastic, slightly lower cost of living version of Vermont, only with more guns and a little tiny piece of seacoast, with some really great restaurants, by the way. Go to Ray's Seafood if you don't believe me, and get the seafood chowder and tell him Styx sent you. Trump is going to humiliate her. In fact, we can pretty much call the race now because the gap, the margin is so large. It's not like in the state of Iowa, where DeSantis is running close to 30. So, I mean, he's not going to win, but he's close enough to be plausible. And Iowa has a history of, at the last minute, having weird shit go on with regards to the end result. Trump is being treated as a quasi-incumbent, and that's why I think he will still win that and then basically run the field. But DeSantis is up there enough. With regards to South Carolina, though, the gap is much larger. Trump's running a bit ahead of where he would be in Iowa. DeSantis doesn't have really great numbers there. And Nikki Haley's stuck somewhere in the mid-20s, despite it being her own home state. She's nuts if she goes into the South Carolina race without having won New Hampshire. But she's nuts. And so she probably will. In fact, these people might all stay in through Super Tuesday. They might be absolutely batshit enough to do that. Ron DeSantis especially would be warned not to. If you haven't won any of the starting states and you're 35 points behind in your home state, that's not a good look for your political future should you choose to pursue that avenue. It would be better to drop out. Whether or not you endorse anyone doesn't even matter at that point. At the very least, you can say, hey, I wasn't on the ballot in my home state. I decided to drive. My campaign finance dried up or something. We had a good run, boys, but, now I'm going to get out. And it'll be interesting to see as fans' reactions. When Haley drops out, though, we're not going to see much of a reaction. Legacy media will pretend that it's somehow relevant, but I've only seen like one or two people that genuinely support Nikki Haley, and I literally had to have other people find them for me. I see ads about Nikki Haley incessantly on the local television network, which I don't watch, but it's on in the background. My parents watch it. And she does a lot of political ads here because it overlaps with New Hampshire's coverage. She's canvassing heavily there. At least she's in the 30s. She will, squeak by with a good second place victory, but then she gets humiliated in her own home state. What I'm waiting for is more Nevada polling. For some bizarre reason, nobody seems to want to poll the goddamn state lately. Hell, there aren't even enough Iowa polls. Iowa votes in a fucking week, and where's my last-minute slurry of polls so that we can get that scatter shot a little bit more tightened up? You got to do some more grouping. I've got literally nothing. There's like one recent poll from the state of Iowa, and it's not even particularly recent now. Another thing that will be interesting to see, not in national polling necessarily so much, but in general polling for these states, how has Nikki Haley's gaffe with regards to the Civil War, how has it reduced her gusto? She was rising up there, although again, she's still stuck mainly in the 20s. nationally lower than that. How has that impacted her polling numbers? It looks like based on this poll, a little bit of a shift, but only by a few points. It's pretty expected. The problem is that when you're close but no cigar mode, losing a couple points of support just makes it impossible for you to muster up enough voters to win. So New Hampshire becomes her problem. Iowa really becomes DeSantis' problem. Ramaswamy's entire campaign at this point is his problem. Then you've got that Trump town hall that's going to be competing with the also-ran debate on CNN. That's with Christie and DeSantis and Haley. And then actually a competing event on Tim Pool, of all places, with Ramaswamy the same night, around the same time. It's the tale of three different sort of campaigns. Trump, quasi-incumbent, he's already pivoted to the general. He's not even bothering to address these people half the time. The also-rans, who all appear to be, jostling for a cabinet position or a book deal. And Ramaswamy, who's like, yeah, I'm young enough, I can do it next time around too. And by the way, I'm worth about $100 million fucking dollars. So I'm just going to go on the Timcast. Yeah, maybe he made a good decision. Trump should get his ass on there. That would be interesting. To certainly be spicy. With Ramaswamy, of course, you never know what he's going to say. It's almost like, I'm going to be watching the Trump town hall on Fox, live reacting to it probably. That's on the 7th, 2 days from now. But yeah, I'll definitely watch the recap of Ramaswamy's bit on Timcast. That'll be fun. Poor Nikki Haley. She's 30 points, well, more than 30 points behind in her own home state. DeSantis, at the very least, he can plausibly drop out before his home state comes up into the bunch if he does poorly in the first few states, because it's a Super Tuesday state. Nikki Haley doesn't have that long to wait. South Carolina's before Super Tuesday. So she's going to have to make a big decision. Hey, if I don't win New Hampshire or Iowa, and she won't, should I just drop? And then, by the way, another big thing. Will these people be sour grapes, or in the end will they endorse Donald Trump, and at what time? I suspect that Nikki Haley probably will. I suspect that Ron DeSantis may very well not. That'll be interesting to watch. Right now, though, it's all eyes on Iowa for the foreseeable future, and then we go on through the other early states. I can't wait for Super Tuesday, too, although I suspect it'll be a pretty narrow field at that point, and Trump will be running in the 70s, so... there's not going to be any unpredictable fireworks moments probably going on for Super Tuesday, and we'll wait and see. It could be that these people stick it in just because they're expecting a brokered convention, too. That would be shenanigans, by the way, if that should occur. That's about all. Peace out.